Now we're going to begin the new shir.
We're on Daf Mebava Med Aleph. V'gam kvar hoya le'elam me'ein zeh b'shas matan Torah. So we're talking about Dira B'Tachteinim. And he says that Dira B'Tachteinim is, of course, the avoid of Bittel and the Asheras HaShechina we learned about in the last Perek. Dafke in this world, which is the lowest world from our perspective, of course. And the Rebbe says also Love, the Gili of Alakus, which is going to be here, is going to be more than the Gili of Alakus, which is in the higher Elamis. Because in the higher Elamis, whatever Elam it is, can only get Lefierach, it's Kalim. In other words, Taka, there's more Giluim in higher Elamis, but it's always measured. In this world, there's going to be a Yisrein, Ha'er Metech HaCheshach, and a Gili of Atmas Ein. You know, there must be 100 Siches at least, where the Rebbe explains why there's going to be more here than there. And it has to do with the idea that this world, in spite of it being Cheshach and Sheker, as we discussed yesterday, it has Etzem. Gashmis has Etzem. Like it says in Igez HaKedesh Siman Chof. But he says that this ability for this world to have a Gili of Atmas Ein itself without platzing has to do with Oiz. Torah is called Oiz, and I mentioned yesterday to you, Hashem Oiz, La'am Iten. Oiz doesn't only mean strength. Oiz means the koyach to be mechabe two hafchim, keich ha-bli gavul, and keich ha-gavul, which allows that Liyasid Lavi, there should be a Gili Atmos in this limited world, and the world should be able to be mechabe. And the Rebbe says this is going to happen when Mashiach comes, especially with Tchias HaMeisim, and especially in Elef Hashvi, which is 3 in Yonim, and maybe it's 2 in Yonim and Tchias HaMeisim, like it says in many Sfarim, including the Rebbe's writings, and Ve'enkan HaMok. V'gam, moreover, kvar hoya le'elam means b'shas matan Torah. This already occurred before the times of Matan Torah, such a Gilui. Now who cares? So, why is it negate to me that it occurred b'shas Matan Torah? And to be sure, he could have said kvar hoya le'elam me'ein zeh b'shivis sheis me'breishes, that there was a shenivra b'yem harishin, the light Hashem created the first day, which was revealed during till Motzei Shabbos. It's the same light of Matan Torah, the same light of the Yossi Lovi. Veisach nish. But I'll just tell you a suggestion, that this is what's called in Chassidus Chiddush HaYishonos. Since Shas Matan Torah, the Eibishter gave us this Oiz b'His Galus, and we saw the whole world was Gatlachite. We're not really creating it through our Bittel and through our Void and through our Dira B'Tachteinim. We're bringing back what already was. In other words, Matan Torah is in a Sinus Keich. What happened with Shas Matan Torah, when there was a Gili of Atmas Ein Sof in this world, more than Elam Yisrael Yenim, and the worlds did not disappear, because Hashem Oiz La'ama Yitain, the Eibishter gives a Koyach. So he says, the fact that this is what I'm just saying this, but the fact that b'shas Matan Torah, this Gilui and this Oiz already existed, so we're simply bringing it back. What was b'shas Matan Torah? So this already occurred similar to this b'shas Matan Torah. K'diksiv, it says in the pasuk, you revealed yourself, you showed yourself. Ladas, that we should all know, that Avayu Elikim, that Erein Sof and the Keich Halaki of Helam, Hein Hein Gvureisov, is one and the same thing, and therefore Ein Eid Mulvade. Without Hashem, there's absolutely nothing. Mulvade means without. Without Hashem, there's absolutely nothing. Everything is Gatlachkai. Now it looks like we're all without Hashem. B'shas Matan Torah, Hashem showed himself mamish, but Yechush, we could see vividly. What could we see? Not a certain level of Alakus, like it could be a Gili in Atzilus or a Gili in Keser. We saw the whole truth. To the Ksiv, as the Pasuk says, we all saw as like the sounds, and the Gemara Chazal said, we saw this that is normally heard. And we're going to explain this in a moment. The bottom line is, Matan Torah was not a higher revelation. Matan Torah was a revelation of the truth. The truth means it cannot be improved upon. What's called in Tanya Perich of Gimel and repeated Kama Piyamim since Beli Hester upon him. How revealed is he? He's not hidden at all. Can't be revealed anymore. This is the Gili, which happens through Dira B'Tachteinim. Dafka in Tachteinim, and B'shas Matan Torah, this already occurred in a way of a first time. He gives a very interesting taich today in Mesanishma, and it's a very important point. What we're about to read now is a second point. He says, the B'shas Matan Torah, we saw the voices. And of course, this is discussed in Chazal, it's discussed in Chassidus. What it means that we saw sound. The whole shturim in Kama came in Chassidus. But here he brings, or Pirshe Razal, 7 lines from the bottom of the page. The B'shas Matan Torah, we saw the voices. The Gemara says that Mistakel and Mizrach V'Shayim They looked to the east and they saw heard the voice. Is to all 4 directions, or Lamailo, Lamata, and to up and down. The Zayar explains his Gemara. The Leisasad, there's no place and there's no point. The Leimalal Minei, they did not speak from it, Imhoin, with them, V'chuli. V'hainu translates the Alter Rebbe. What does it mean? That the Gemara says that they heard the voice come from all 6 directions. And the Tikkunim explain that every point in the creation says this. There was a relation of the will of Hashem in the Ten Commandments. Shem Kol Satera. That Aseret Dibus is the whole Torah, like we discussed in Tanya Perich Chof Bekitzer. She Pnimi is the Tanya Yisbarach. That says in Tanya beginning of Perich Chof Gimel. That Torah is the inner will of Hashem. V'chachmasi in His wisdom, and therefore, how revealed is Hashem? I'll tell you how revealed. He can't be revealed anymore. Ve'ein sham has upon him cloud. He doesn't say He's very revealed. He's revealed a lot. He's revealed very much. The only way for the Alter Rebbe to describe the revelation in Torah is to say negative, because whenever you want to describe something that has no limits, find a positive way. What's the positive way to say not limited? When we want to describe something infinite, we call it not finite. Why say not? Say yes. Because there is no yes. When you want to say something is so much that it cannot be more, the only way you could say it is not. Beli has to upon him, he's not concealed at all. It's written in the Siddur, the light of Hashem's upon him, countenance, was Gili B'Shas Matan Torah. The Satal on Torah's Chayim, maybe she gave us the Torah of life. And this is what happened by Matan Torah. I want to give you a klerung. I want to tell you a word. It's a moidendike gedanke, and I think that this is the Pshat in Tanya. The Welt fragt a Kasha. The Marash asks his Kasha. How do you know Torah is real? Maybe Torah is an Achidas Einayim. How do we know that what you and I feel and experience is true? Maybe it's a Baba Mais. I once heard it from a college student many, many years ago. Maybe there's monkeys. We're all pieces, chips in a computer. There's a super world, and we're not real. And I got a secret for you. Believe it or not, this is impossible to answer. You cannot prove that what you perceive as real is real. The Psad you go and argue that human perception is true. But the Rebbe brings many sichas, many discussions. Human perception has been proven to be false. Pshat and Psad you go and I don't know. But the Psad you go and says you have to trust your senses. It's a very interesting rasad. But how do you know what you see and experience is real? It's a lie. And when you're having a certain experience, you have a bias. The way you see things is your perspective. It takes away from you the possibility of being what they call in American open-minded. So the Marash says you cannot prove that your perception is real except from a pasuk in Chumash. Bereishis bara Elokim. It says in Torah that God created the world. Torah is saying you're real. No, I tell you the Kasha. How do you know Torah is real? Maybe Torah is an Achidas Einayim. And the answer is no. Torah is not. Torah you know for sure. How do you know Torah is for sure real? How do you know for sure? This Tanya. But before to get to the Tanya, let me give you a nigler. There's a Gewaldike Rambam which is very famous where the Rambam talks about Nevuah. And he says Nevuah is a guy comes along, he does Eizus or Meifsim, he does whatever he does, so you know he's a Navi, and you're not allowed to have any doubts. Elov Tishmor. Right? But the Rambam says that's true of Nevuah, not of Matan Torah. Matan Torah we don't believe because Moshe did miracles. Matan Torah we're Eidus. We saw witnesses. We saw the Eibshter. We saw Jewish people should see and hear that I'm talking to you. The Rambam paskins that Matan Torah is Eidus. And the Rambam goes on to say that the reason we believe in Navi is not because of his Eisus Meisim, but because of the Eidus of Matan Torah. We trust other than, that's why the Rambam says in the Gimel Ikrim, that Moshe Rabbeinu is called Avi Kol HaNaviim. Moshe is the father of all the prophets, even the prophets that came before him, because the credibility of Nevuah, how do we know Nevuah is emes? Because we were witnesses. Matan Torah is Eidus. And the Tzemach Tzedek, wait, we're about to get it. The Rebbe Tzemach Tzedek in Sefer Achkira has a drush called Eidus, which explains Al Pi Chasidus this Rambam. And it's interesting that the Rebbe Rashab told the Frierdiker Rebbe in his Tzavor that the Maimer of Eidus and Ksav Yad should be given to the Rebbe. The Rebbe once mentioned in Fabrengen that he was supposed to get some stuff for Yerush which he never got. The Maimer of Eidus was destined for the Rebbe. Now, Frekter, so maybe Matan Torah was a Achidas Einayim, and the answer is this. Matan Torah did not come from a direction. Matan Torah did not come up from a place. What happened to Matan Torah is like this. Every single thing has a need to tell a key. What's a thing? A planet is a thing. A galaxy is a thing. A cluster of galaxies is a thing. Yeah? But you know what else? An atom is a thing. An atomic particle is a thing. A sub-particle is a thing. Every single thing which is self-contained has a need to tell a key. The need to tell a key in each creation said, Anei Hashem Elokecha. Anei Hashem Elokecha didn't come from any place. Anei Hashem Elokecha was the world becoming God. And we witnessed it. My hand said Anechi, the molecules man said Anechi, the atoms of my hand said Anechi, the parts of the atoms and the subparts, every nekuda of Bria, in as much as it's a nekuda said Anechi Hashem Elokecha. There was no perspective. Perspective means you perceiving something different. Anochi was an event, Matan Torah, where Edis, to Achtos, Begilui, Ata Hareis Aladas. We didn't see God. We saw that there's nothing but God. The whole creation said Anochi. In other words, the idea of Matan Torah, the way the Alter Rebbe explains it, is that we were witnesses. Not that God is in heaven and we're on earth. That God is in Har Sinai and we're in the bottom of the mountain. We're witnesses that there's no space, there's no time, and there's no separation except in our perspective. So the way Chassidus explains, Matan Torah, the Eibishter, revealed himself in a way where you cannot say it's a perception. Because every perception said the same thing. Anech Hashem Elokecha was not my point of view, your point of view, it was reality. Reality became Achas Hashem. I believe that this is credible. I believe it's different. This is what the Marash says. You cannot know whether when you're perceiving is real except for the Torah. And the Torah is Edis. And that's what the Alter Rebbe is saying here, or the Zayir is explaining. There was a voice that came from a loudspeaker over here, a loudspeaker over there. If there was a thing, the Nijat Elaki, and that thing said Anechi. And this is the reason that Ayubeteilim b'Metzias Mamish, Yidden were lost in the Metzias, they form all together. It says the neshamas of Yidden left their gufas because their goof became getlichkeit. So the self-containment, the I, the me, the I'm separate from Hashem was bottled. Hashem brought it back with the tal. There's that magic word, ois. If you want to know the magic word of Pedek Lamed Vav, it's the word ois. Hashem brought it back with tal, with du. The du is called ois. What's the pshat ois? Ois doesn't mean power. Ois means a koyach elokit mimachaber hafchim. That even in a world where everything is godly, you could exist. And you could be makabel. That truth that everything is godliness. It's not either or. It's not either Hashem is revealed or you exist. Ois allows for the chibur of hafchim. And that's the keach hatera. Because it was 10 giluyim, you have to have 10 times ois. And the answer to the question is I don't know. The question I have is better. How come only Yidden died? How come not goyim and not animals, not plants? The whole bria geworden elikus. You could answer it, but that would be inventing stuff, and you don't like to invent if you don't need to. You rather have kashas. A good kasha is always better than a poor teretz for several reasons. But the deal is tal teira. Why tal teira? Because ois. Ois gives a koyach that you could be one with elikus and be you and makabel that gila, and that's the betachtein. That's lost love. K'mayim Razal says in the Gemara, Kolaisik b'Teira, any person learns Teira, Tal Teira b'Chayeyu v'Chulus. The Gemara in the end of Masechet Ksuvos that the person who learns Teira is going to have Tchias HaMeisim because of Tal Teira. And what's Tal Teira? The Keach, the Makabel, the Giluyim of the Yossi Love. Rakt over then, Shachakach, Koram Achet. When Yidden got the Teira from the Eibishter, they were supposed to live forever. They're supposed to live forever because in their goof there was a Gili of Alakus. But they sinned. And of course, go scratch your head and say, how could people who are Alakus sin? And you could do that for homework. And the world, and they became more Magushim. They get a Yamin till the end of time. And again, this is by me a very shvera kasha. L'chayde, you should say case hayomim. I don't know if you guys know this, but in the end of Sefer Daniel, you have Ketza Yomim and Ketza Yomin. Yomim means days. Yamin means the right hand of Hashem, the chesed of the Eibishter. Ketza Yamin means the Eibishter's, the end of the Eibishter's chesed. And there's a whole hesbet of what it means. So why did Rebbe brings, he's talking about days. Lachei is talking about days, but he brings not Ketza Yomim, but Ketza Yamin, the end of the Eibishter's gili of chesed. So as that then, Yizdach Gashmis Aguva Elam, we take a full refinement of the physicality of one's body and the world, and therefore we'll all be able to receive revelation of the divine light, which will shine to the Yidden. And it's not the pshat Hashem's light is going to come from heaven to earth, but we're going to see the nekuda of alakus, or the alakus which is in the nekud of each creation. And again he repeats the words because Torah gives a koyach that you should be able to receive a gili and not floods. There's going to be so much a gili of Torah by Yidden that Yagia, it will bring light to the darkness of the nation as well. Stop. Now, if the whole creation becomes a lakus, what's the pshat? Goyim are going to have their blackness enlightened. The whole world is a lakus. So first of all, I don't know. Second of all, when the whole world becomes getlachkeit, there's two possibilities. One possibility is to become ois mitzias. Another possibility is that you're makabel it. Torah, which is ois, makes it you shouldn't become ois mitzias, you should be makabel the gilui. So I think that the Alter Rebbe is saying that Meyis and Adar Yisrael that they should be makabel the Gilui. In other words, Goyim will keep the Shabbos Neneach and Chaim Nitzchim won't be overwhelmed by the Gilui, they'll be makabel the Gilui. But I just made that up. I don't know if it's true. And he brings 5 psukim, and the Rebbe has notes why 5. I forgot them. Kediksiv, pasuk number 1. That even Goyim are going to experience the light of the Eibishter and be existent. Uksiv to the second pasuk, Beis Yankiv l'chuvinel chaber ad Hashem, that the house of Jacob walks in the light of the Eibishter, which is a higher madrege than v'hochu goyim l'oirech, because perhaps it says Eir Havaya. Uksiv the third pasuk says Nigla Kvei Davai, there'll be a gil of Kvei Davai, but all called Basa Yachtav again. Not you're going to see with your eyes, you're going to see with your flesh. Remember on the previous page, the Alter Rebbe brought the lashon Ka'ayin Ba'ayin Yiru. Gedenkst? This is a lower madrege. Seeing godliness with your eyes is chaya. You're still you and God is still God. You're seeing Him. Seeing with your hand, you're seeing God because you are God. This is Yechida. This is what it says in the Haggadah Elef HaShvi. Uksivity brings a fourth pasuk. Love b'nikas atzurim or b'zifas loim. We're going to go into the cracks of the rocks and into the shelves of the precipices of mountains, because of fear of Hashem and the honor of His power. Mashiach's going to come, we're going to run and hide. We're not going to have any place to go, because we have no place to hide. So why he brings this fourth pasuk, the first pasuk says, this is from the Siddur. Hashem should appear with the beauty of the power of His eyes. There's the magic word. Not just on Yidden, but I'll call Yesh v'tevel atzachav again, that all Goyim are going to experience this Gilui. And again, I think that this is a pasuk, a Siddur, right? A pasuk, Siddur, and he says the lashon of a gamer. I don't know if you guys know this, but Teresh B'Ksav you say v'gamer, but Teresh you say v'chulu. What is Siddur? Siddur is the mamutz. It's made by Anshek Nesagdela. Anshek Nesagdela are the Seifrim. So sometimes it's compared to Teresh B'Ksav, so you say v'gamer. Sometimes it's compared to Teresh B'Peh, you say v'chulu. This is a pasuk from Siddur, and the Alter Rebbe says v'gamer.
So this ends the current shiur.